All right, so we're going to look at a situation for a company, fictitious company that has bad internal control. So here we have Martin Streeter, who's the payroll manager for the Peoria Panthers minor league baseball team, consistently being praised by the CEO because he's so hardworking and dedicated. He's so hardworking that he designed and implemented a new payroll system that only he fully understood. In fact, Streeter controlled the system to the extent that he personally filled out weekly timesheets for each of the 100 employees, right? To save them time, he would just fill out their timesheets. He was such a loyal employee that when he was on vacation, he came back to do the payroll to ensure there was no delay in the direct deposit of employee payroll checks. Unfortunately, it was discovered that Streeter embezzled more than $80,000. He added fictitious employees to various departments in the organization. He routinely inflated the number of hours worked by several employees and split the overpayments with those individuals. The fraud discovered when Streeter was in a serious car accident that left him in a coma for 2 days. While the controller was completing the payroll, she noticed that several employees, including ushers, security guards, ticket salespeople, were being paid unusually high amounts. In some cases, employees earning $12 an hour received weekly paychecks over $3,000. After a criminal investigation was conducted, charges were filed, and all involved in the scandal confessed. So let's consider the elements of the internal control system. What are the weaknesses? So we know the elements of internal control because of the acronym CRIME. So C stands for control procedures. My bad typing. So let's think about some control procedures that are not good. Well, how about the concept of mandatory vacations and rotating duties? If you think about the fraud got discovered because he was in the hospital, all right, he wouldn't come back from vacation on time to finish the payroll, so I guess he never took vacation of more than a few days. And so then when he wasn't there for payroll, someone had to step in and do it. That's when things were discovered. How about separating responsibilities? They had Streeter filling out time cards. How about authorization? Of the time cards, maybe even, like I said, that's an example. Okay, so those are some control procedures. How about risk assessment? The R stands for risk assessment. Well, payroll is vulnerable to fraud, right? Because we saw that he added fictitious employees to various departments in the organization. And then he would just send them the checks, and obviously he'd make checks for them and then just cash them himself. Then he also worked out deals with employees that he overpaid them, and they split the extra pay that he gave them. So we know things like that can happen in fraud, so you need to be extra vigilant with your controls when it comes to payroll. What about information systems? Okay, so we probably should have some of this automated. If he's filling out weekly timesheets, it would probably help to have it automated. It'd be more efficient, and then there would need to be someone approving timesheets. So the person in payroll doesn't know what the ticket takers worked, so it should probably have the timesheets being approved by supervisors. And then M stands for monitoring. we should have had some periodic independent verification. So we should have had somebody coming in, pulling some timesheets and kind of tracing through the system, right? That they were approved, that these hours were actually worked, that they were being paid at the correct rate, right? And so if somebody came in and pulled a sample of transactions, it's possible, at least maybe even likely, that they would have found some of these areas that fraudulent things were happening. And then the E in crime, it stands for the control environment, right? The owner gave too much freedom to Streeter, right? The owner should have wanted to know more about the new payroll system, right? And so a lot of times I will have students that are taking my class because they want to open their own business, and they say, oh, I don't like accounting, I'm just going to hire somebody to do all this. And I say, you know, that's fine, but you better be looking over that person's shoulder. It's your business. No one's going to care about it as much as you. And people don't care about making you money. They want to make themselves money. You need to be in there and you need to know. So that's why my class is important. Even if you don't intend to be making journal entries or preparing financial statements, you better be looking at them to make sure that nothing fraudulent is happening. And so you need to know what is reasonable, what things should look like. And you should be wanting to know, if you have a new payroll system, you should want to know how it works. Maybe not all the details, but you should have an overview of how it works, and you should be able to ask questions and have people know the answer, and not just one person. So let's make some recommendations for how we can improve the payroll system. Okay, well, let's say we've kind of named a few. Employees fill out their own timesheets. Supervisor approves timesheets before they even get to payroll. Okay. So another thing, he was adding fictitious employees. So new employees have to be authorized before added to the system. Right. We need to have periodic audits that verify pay rates and look at the reasonableness of payrolls, right? So if you see, maybe you go in and you look, things are authorized, you want to compare from week to week to week. So you shouldn't have to pull it every week, but you should be able to compare. Your payroll should be, somewhat steady from week to week, unless there's a reason why there was a busy time and you would have, maybe a special event, you had to pull in more people. Okay, so these are just some suggestions that you could make. This was kind of a system with some obvious mistakes, but these are just the ideas of things to look at so that you can be constantly improving your internal control system.